The sun was a merciless sphere of fire hanging low in the red sky of Kalara.
9.
Its heat baked the endless desert sands, turning each step into a struggle. Caden stumbled across the dunes, his throat dry, his lips cracked, and his water supplies long gone. He had survived on this planet for weeks after his ship crashed, scavenging what he could, fighting off the windstorms and the small venomous creatures that lurked beneath the sands. But today was different. He knew it in the marrow of his bones. Today, survival was no longer guaranteed. Every movement was agony. His vision blurred with the shimmer of heat waves. Each breath felt like inhaling fire. Caden forced himself forward, driven by the same stubborn spark that had kept him alive before. He had no illusions. He was weak, starving, and alone. Yet even in his exhaustion, he kept his eyes open, scanning the horizon for any sign of shelter or water. And then he saw it, a faint glimmer near the ruins of what looked like an old colony settlement. Most of the buildings were half buried in sand, their walls scarred by years of neglect and violent storms. But there was something else there, something small and trembling, moving against the harsh wind. At first he thought it was a dying animal, one of Cholera, Nine's native species, which were rumored to be vicious and territorial. But as he drew closer, the creature's shape became clearer, and Caden realized that it was not like anything he had ever seen. Its body was slender, almost ethereal, with skin that shimmered silver in the sun. Its limbs were delicate but purposeful, and its eyes, large, luminous, and impossibly deep, locked onto him with a mixture of fear and pleading. Caden froze. The creature was alive, but barely. It trembled violently, its chest rising and falling in shallow gasps. He could see the signs of dehydration, the way its skin clung tightly to its bones, the faint pulse of its veins under the reflective surface. Something inside Caden stirred. He had survived countless dangers, faced hunger, heat, and predators, but the sight of this dying being pierced him in a way that no storm or attack ever had. Without thinking, he reached into his bag and drew the last remaining bottle of water. There was barely enough to wet his own lips, and yet the decision was instantaneous. He knelt beside the creature and held the bottle to its mouth. At first, the alien made no move. Its eyes widened, and a small, high-pitched sound escaped its throat, a sound that was almost like a whimper, almost like a song. Caden tilted the bottle again, pressing it gently against its lips. Slowly, hesitantly, the alien drank. The liquid glistened on its silver skin, soaking into its body like life returning to a parched plant. Caden watched in awe as the creature's strength returned, gradually, just enough for it to lift its head. Its gaze met his, and for a moment there was silence in the storm. A pause in the relentless heat. Then came a sound, not of words, but of a voice that resonated inside his mind. Soft, yet unmistakable. "Follow me." "You saved me. I will repay your kindness." Caden blinked, startled. He knew he hadn't imagined it. The thought was too clear, too purposeful. He had no idea how the creature spoke, or even if it had a voice in the way humans understood it, but he trusted it. For all his training and survival skills, for all his skepticism about the universe, he felt a deep certainty this being had just changed his life. He rose to his feet, adjusting the strap of his pack. His body protested, every muscle aching, every joint stiff. But he followed. The alien moved ahead with surprising grace, stepping lightly over the sand and rubble, seemingly unaffected by the punishing heat. Caden forced himself to match its pace, his bare hands blistering on the sun-baked stones, his boots sinking into the loose sand. The journey took them across the ruins, past collapsed buildings that once hummed with human life. Caden's mind wandered briefly to the stories he had heard about Kalara. Nine's colonists. They had come seeking opportunity, gold, rare minerals, and technology hidden beneath the sands. Few had survived more than a few months. Yet here he was, following a creature that should not even exist according to everything he knew. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time seemed meaningless under the unyielding sky. The alien led him through narrow crevices between rock formations, over dunes, and around jagged cliffs. Its movements were confident, purposeful, and somehow knowing. Caden stumbled several times, his body screaming for rest, but each time the creature waited, patient, yet insistent. Finally, as the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and crimson, they reached a narrow canyon. Caden paused to catch his breath, his knees weak. The alien looked at him with something that resembled expectation. Then it moved ahead, vanishing around a bend. Hesitant but compelled, Caden followed. The canyon widened abruptly into a massive cavern, its walls shimmering with minerals that glowed faintly in the dim light. And there it was, a ship, unlike anything Caden had ever imagined. It hovered above the ground, massive yet impossibly sleek, its surface reflecting the cavern in liquid mirrors. Lines of energy pulsed along its hull, creating patterns that seemed alive, almost breathing. Caden's mouth went dry again, this time from awe rather than thirst. He had read about advanced spacecraft in human archives, heard legends whispered across interstellar communications, but nothing matched this. Every empire in the galaxy, every warlord, every scientist had sought something like this and failed, and yet here it was, in front of him, guided by the fragile alien he had saved. The alien moved closer to him and lifted its head. Its luminous eyes seemed to study him, weighing him. Then came the thought again, resonating inside his mind. It is yours. For humans who act with courage and mercy. How could this be? He was a survivor, not a hero. He had given his last drop of water to save a life, and now the galaxy's greatest prize was being offered to him. It didn't make sense, yet the certainty in the alien's presence was undeniable. The ship's doors began to open, shifting in ways that defied physics. Panels moved fluidly, morphing and adjusting as if alive. A soft hum filled the cavern, vibrating in Caden's chest. Every instinct told him to step forward, yet fear lingered at the edges of his mind. What if this was a trap? What if the alien led him here for reasons he could not understand? He shook the thought away. He had survived Kalara, 9 because he acted, not because he hesitated. He stepped toward the ship. The air inside smelled faintly metallic, but not unpleasantly so, like the promise of possibilities. The panels shifted again, forming a pathway that invited him in. Caden's heart pounded in his chest, a mixture of excitement, fear, and disbelief. As he crossed the threshold, he glanced back at the alien. It nodded once, almost imperceptibly, then stepped aside, allowing him to take the first claim in what could very well be the most important chapter in human history. Caden's mind whirled with questions. What was this ship capable of? Why had the alien chosen him? And, perhaps most pressing of all, what did the galaxy want with something so powerful? He pushed the questions aside for now. The desert, the thirst, the suffering, all of it had led to this moment. For the first time in weeks, Caden felt more than survival instinct coursing through his veins. He felt purpose, responsibility, and a strange, exhilarating sense of destiny. The alien, now steady and vibrant, walked beside him inside the cavern. Its thoughts resonated calmly in his mind. Rest now. Learn. The path ahead is long, and the galaxy watches. But you, human, have the strength to shape what comes next. Caden nodded, a wry smile tugging at his cracked lips. He had no idea what the future held. Entire civilizations would covet what he now stood within. He had no allies, no reinforcements, and no strategy beyond what his instincts and humanity offered. And yet, he felt ready, not because he was strong, but because he had acted when it mattered most. He had given his last drop, and somehow, that act had changed everything. For the first time since he landed on Kalara. 9. Caden let himself hope, not for survival alone, but for the chance to become more than a man stranded in the desert. He could feel the pulse of the ship beneath his feet, the quiet power of possibilities waiting to be awakened. And he knew, with a certainty deeper than fear, that this was only the beginning. The cavern was alive with light. Panels along the walls shifted like liquid, forming streams of information that glowed in soft, pulsating colors. Caden stepped carefully across the smooth floor, his eyes wide with awe. The ship towered above him, its ceiling vanishing into shadows, giving the impression that the entire cavern had been built around it, rather than the other way around. Every surface shimmered with energy, as if the ship itself breathed. The alien, whom he now knew as Lyra, floated beside him. Her silver skin reflected the soft glow of the ship, and her eyes held an intelligence far beyond anything Caden had encountered. She didn't speak in words. Instead, thoughts flowed into his mind, precise and clear. The ship is old, older than the human archives you studied. It contains knowledge, power, and paths through the stars you cannot imagine. It awaits a steward. Caden swallowed hard, his pulse quickening. Steward. He had never considered himself worthy of such a role. He was a survivor, not a leader. Yet here he was, standing in front of a ship that could change the galaxy. Why me? He thought, and the question passed into Lyra's mind like a ripple in water. Because you gave your last drop, she replied. Because you acted when others would have hesitated. Because humans have potential, untapped, underestimated, and often feared. The galaxy will watch you. It will test you. But you have begun to prove yourself. The words settled over Caden like a mantle of responsibility. He glanced back at the cavern entrance, thinking of the red sands outside, the dying desert sun, and the weeks of struggle that had brought him here. It seemed almost impossible that a simple act of compassion had led him to this moment. Lyra moved toward one of the shimmering panels. It reacted to her presence, unfurling a holographic display that floated between them. Maps of star systems appeared, showing countless planets, trade routes, and what looked like hidden corridors between galaxies, paths humans had never discovered. Lines of energy connected the worlds like threads in a vast web. Caden reached out hesitantly, and the panel responded to his touch, highlighting a small, uncharted star system far from the known territories. This ship, he murmured, awe threading through his voice. It knows things humans don't even dream of. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. It knows more than you can understand now. But it will teach you. It will respond to those who respect life, who act with clarity and courage. The galaxy seeks the Ark, yet it waits for the one who can use it wisely. Caden felt a thrill he had never known. He had survived deserts, storms, and hunger. He had faced death alone, but this was something beyond survival. It was opportunity. It was destiny. And yet, the thought of what others would do if they discovered him sent a shiver down his spine. Entire civilizations had fought for a fraction of the power he now possessed. He had the galaxy's most coveted prize, and he had no plan, no allies, and very little knowledge. Lyra seemed to sense his unease. Fear is natural, but hesitation can be fatal. You must learn quickly. I will guide you, but you will act. Humans have a way of surprising those who underestimate them. She led him deeper into the ship. Hallways shifted beneath their feet, forming as they walked, like the ship was alive and responding to their presence. Rooms appeared, each filled with technology that defied explanation. One chamber contained a holographic archive of alien civilizations, their histories, and their innovations. Another room hummed with energy, showing star maps with routes that could shorten journeys by centuries. It was overwhelming. Caden reached out to touch one of the glowing panels. Data flowed into his mind. Images of planets, ships, weapons, and unknown energies. It was intoxicating. He realized that this was more than a ship. It was a library, a tool, a weapon, and a guide, all in one. Every choice he made could ripple across the galaxy. Suddenly, a warning flashed across the panels. Multiple fleets had detected energy spikes in the Kalara system. They were scanning for unknown ships, and the Sovereign Ark's activation had been noticed. Caden's pulse quickened. So fast, he thought. They're already looking for me. Lyra's presence was steady beside him.
Yes, news travels faster than you imagine.
Drones, scouts, and warships will converge. You must decide quickly how to move. The galaxy desires control, not stewardship. But the ship will protect you, if you act. Caden nodded. Fear still lingered, but alongside it was something stronger. Determination. He had survived impossible odds before. He had acted when no one else would, and now he had a tool capable of unmatched power. He could not waste it. He spent the next hours learning to interface with the ship. Lyra guided him patiently, teaching him to feel the currents of energy, to sense the ship's moods, and to understand its responses. Caden's human intuition, sharpened by years of survival, allowed him to react quickly where logic alone would have failed. He realized that humans, underestimated by so many alien civilizations, had a unique edge: creativity, empathy, and the courage to act decisively. As night fell over Kalara, 9, Caden stood on the ship's observation deck, looking out at the barren desert below. The stars above seemed brighter than he had ever seen, stretching across the sky in patterns he had never noticed from the surface. Somewhere among them were countless worlds, some thriving, some dying, and some locked in endless conflict. And soon they would know that a human had claimed the Ark. The first test came sooner than he expected. Sensors picked up an approaching fleet, dozens of sleek ships moving with precision, scanning every system for anomalies. Caden felt his heart beat faster. The galaxy's powers had already begun their hunt. Lyra's thoughts entered his mind with urgency. They are here. You must decide. Fight, flee, or negotiate.
The Ark will respond to your choice. Trust yourself.
Trust humanity. Caden's mind raced. Fighting seemed reckless. These ships outnumbered him vastly. Fleeing might be safer, but it would only delay the inevitable confrontation. Negotiation, perhaps. Yet who would negotiate with a human, alone, commanding a ship that could rival entire fleets? He realized then that he had something no alien power could match: unpredictability. Humans did not always follow the expected path. That was their strength. He activated the ship's cloaking system, a technology so advanced that even the closest scanners struggled to detect it. The Ark shimmered, blending into the void of space as the alien fleet passed by, unaware of its presence. Caden allowed himself a brief smile. It was not victory, but it was survival. And survival was the first step. Hours passed, and Caden learned more of the Ark's capabilities. The ship could generate environments, weapons, shields, and even manipulate gravity to a limited extent. Lyra explained that its true potential was unlocked, not through force alone, but through understanding, strategy, and empathy. Caden realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans, not because they were weak, but because their strength was different, subtle, and often ignored. By the time the second sun rose over Kalara, 9, Caden had made a plan. He would leave the planet, but not recklessly. He would chart a course through unclaimed systems, learning the ship's capabilities, gathering information, and preparing for the inevitable confrontation with those who sought the Ark. He felt a strange sense of pride, tempered by caution. The galaxy was watching, and every decision mattered. Myra floated beside him, her presence steady and reassuring. You will be tested more than you have ever imagined. They will try to deceive you, to overwhelm you, to tempt you. But remember, humans survive where others fail. Humans act where others hesitate. You are ready, if you choose to be.
Caden nodded. The weight of responsibility settled over him, but it did not crush him.
Instead, it sharpened his senses, strengthened his resolve. He had started as a lone survivor on a dying world. Now, he commanded a ship that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. He had no allies, yet he had something stronger: humanity itself. As the Ark lifted silently into orbit, leaving the red deserts behind, Caden felt a rush of exhilaration. The stars stretched endlessly before him, full of danger and opportunity. Somewhere out there, empires would begin their hunt. Yet he knew one truth: no alien race could predict the boldness, creativity, and courage of a human who acted with clarity and heart. And Caden was just beginning. The galaxy was alive with movement. Star systems thrummed with activity. Warships patrolled the void, and countless alien powers scanned for anomalies. Caden had barely left Kalara, 9 when his sensors lit up with distant blips, fleets moving in coordinated patterns toward him. The news of the Sovereign Ark traveled faster than he had imagined. Entire civilizations hungered for it, yet none anticipated that a lone human would claim it. He had learned quickly to trust his instincts and the Ark's interface. Lyra guided him, teaching him to sense energy flows, to anticipate enemy maneuvers, and to manipulate the ship's systems with precision. But nothing prepared him for the first real encounter with an alien fleet. It began with scouts. Small, sleek vessels darting through the void, scanning and probing. Caden could have destroyed them, but he hesitated. He realized that indiscriminate violence might draw attention faster. Instead, he studied them, analyzing their tactics. He noticed patterns in their approach, flaws in formation, hesitation in coordination. Humans often observed what others overlooked. Using the Ark's advanced systems, he created a field of decoys, projected images of the ship scattered across the nearby star systems. The scouts, fooled by the illusions, reported false locations back to their fleets. Caden smiled. The galaxy might have underestimated him, but the human mind was unpredictable, and unpredictability was an advantage. As the scouts scattered, the main fleet arrived. Ships larger than any Caden had seen filled the void, their hulls glinting in distant starlight. They surrounded him, sending signals of dominance. Caden could almost hear their intent: claim the Ark, no matter the cost. He took a deep breath, focusing on the calm that Lyra's presence always brought.
Do not act recklessly. Observe, calculate, and act when opportunity presents, she reminded him. Caden activated the Ark's defensive systems. Shields flared into place, pulsating with energy that bent light around them.
The fleet fired, massive beams of concentrated plasma, yet the Ark absorbed the strikes effortlessly, dispersing the energy through its hull. Caden felt the power thrumming beneath his hands, alive and responsive. It was not just a ship. It was a living extension of his own will. He realized then that direct combat was not his only option. Using human ingenuity, he exploited their assumptions. The alien fleets relied on brute strength and strict tactics. Caden, however, had creativity, intuition, and the ability to act unpredictably. He manipulated the Ark's systems to emit signals mimicking another fleet entering the sector. The alien commanders hesitated, unsure of whether they faced reinforcement or trap. Using that pause, Caden slipped through a narrow corridor between asteroid fields, navigating at speeds no alien had anticipated. He was gone before they could react, leaving them confused and frustrated. Every human instinct he had, observation, adaptability, daring, gave him an advantage that raw power could not match. For hours he dodged, outmaneuvered, and misled the alien fleets, learning their behaviors while testing the Ark's limits. Lyra guided him silently, her presence a steady reassurance. She showed him hidden systems, cloaking fields, energy siphons, and even manipulation of gravitational fields to create artificial obstacles in space. Every discovery expanded his confidence. but also the awareness that the galaxy's powers would not relent. Caden finally found a safe pocket in a remote nebula. There, he allowed himself a moment to breathe. He looked out at the swirling clouds of gas and dust, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. The Ark's power was unmatched, but power alone could not ensure survival. Every alien empire, every ambitious warlord, every coalition of stars would hunt him relentlessly. He needed allies, information, and strategy. Lyra moved beside him, her voice and his mind calm, yet insistent. The galaxy tests those who claim the Ark. You are strong, but strength alone is insufficient. Observe, learn, adapt. Humans excel where others cannot, because you think differently, act unexpectedly, and show mercy when it is least expected. These are your greatest weapons. Caden nodded, understanding more than he had before. Humans survived because they acted on instinct, courage, and empathy. Alien civilizations often relied on rigid protocols, hierarchies, and fear. That rigidity made them predictable. That predictability was his edge. His first opportunity came sooner than he anticipated. A trading convoy, moving quietly through an uncharted sector, was being harassed by pirate ships, heavily armed, ruthless, and organized. The convoy's pilots were skilled, but outnumbered. Caden hesitated only for a heartbeat before deciding to intervene. He maneuvered the Ark into the nebula's dense clouds, cloaking its approach. The pirates had no idea what was coming. Within moments, the Ark's energy systems disabled their weapons, disrupted their communications, and immobilized their engines, all without a single life lost. Caden watched as the pirates surrendered, bewildered by the sudden and precise force. The convoy's leaders approached him in gratitude, cautious yet respectful. Caden communicated through the Ark systems, offering assistance, supplies, and safe passage. He did not demand loyalty, but the act alone earned him respect. Word would spread of a human who wielded unprecedented power with caution, intelligence, and mercy. Humans, once considered weak, were now proving their worth. As he left the sector, Caden realized the implications. The galaxy would not only seek the Ark for power, they would seek him personally. Every decision mattered. Every action, every choice would ripple outward, shaping perceptions of humanity itself. He was no longer just a survivor. He was a symbol. Lyra's thoughts entered his mind again. You are learning quickly. This is only the beginning. Soon, the galaxy will offer you both opportunity and temptation. Some will appeal to greed, others to fear, and some to loyalty. Observe carefully, for not all offers are genuine. But remember, the human way is not only survival, it is vision, empathy, and action. Caden spent the next cycle exploring hidden systems, learning the Ark's vast archives, and practicing strategies against simulated fleets. The ship revealed technologies that could terraform planets, create defensive shields around entire worlds, and even manipulate time flow locally for brief intervals. Caden realized the galaxy's greatest fear was justified. The Ark was beyond comprehension. But understanding and using it wisely required more than knowledge. It required judgment, creativity, and human morality. Weeks passed. Stories of his exploits began to reach distant star systems. Alien fleets, once confident in their superiority, started to hesitate. They spoke in hushed communications of a human who could outmaneuver entire fleets, who acted unpredictably, and who seemed guided by both intelligence and mercy. Caden became more than a survivor. He became a legend in the making. One day, while charting a particularly volatile sector near the edge of unclaimed space, Caden received a message, simple, unadorned, yet filled with intent. We have been watching. The Ark belongs to no one, yet it chooses. Meet us at the Arcturus Conflux. Decisions await. Caden read the message 3 times, each time feeling a mixture of anticipation and caution. He knew this was a test. Alien civilizations seeking to understand, manipulate, or challenge him. The conflux was a neutral hub, a meeting point where the galaxy's most powerful leaders convened periodically. It would not be a negotiation, not in the traditional sense. It would be a trial, a measure of how a human wielded unprecedented power. He turned to Lyra, who had been quietly observing. "We go?" he asked, his voice steady. "Yes, observe. Adapt. You have survived the first wave."
This is the second. Your humanity is your strength.
Let it guide you. As the Ark lifted into hyperspace, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. Weeks ago, he had been dying in the desert, praying for survival. Now he was steering a ship that could rival entire civilizations, heading toward a gathering of the galaxy's most ambitious powers. Fear lingered, but it was tempered by confidence. Humans survived impossible odds because they acted decisively, because they observed carefully, and because they valued life even when it was not convenient. As stars streaked past, he focused on the lessons he had learned. Every fleet he had outmaneuvered, every convoy he had protected, every system he had explored had strengthened his understanding of the galaxy and of himself. The galaxy expected fear, hesitation, or arrogance from a human. Instead, it would find clarity, creativity, and courage, and he would show them what it meant to be human. The Arcturus conflux awaited, and Caden, once a lone survivor on a dying planet, was ready to face the galaxy as a steward, a protector, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. The Arcturus conflux loomed ahead, a massive space station orbiting a luminous star. Ships of every shape and size filled the surrounding space. Warships, diplomatic cruisers, and covert scouts. Caden's sensors hummed with activity. Every faction in the sector had converged, drawn by whispers of the sovereign Ark. None of them expected a lone human to be at the helm. Caden stood on the Ark's bridge, Lyra beside him. Her silver skin reflected the soft glow of the ship's consoles. She was calm, her presence steady, even as the galaxy's greatest power surrounded them. "Remember," she reminded him, "they will test you with words, with force, with temptation. Watch closely. Your choices define more than you think."
He nodded. Months of preparation had brought him here, but nothing could completely steel him for the pressure.
Hundreds of eyes, hundreds of fleets, and countless minds would now weigh his every move. Yet Caden felt a strange clarity. Fear was present, but it was tempered by purpose, observation, and the human instinct to act decisively. The first approach came in the form of diplomacy. A sleek, blue-hulled cruiser moved close, its flag signaling authority. Holographic figures appeared on the Ark's bridge, representatives of the dominant star empire. Their leader, tall and imposing, regarded him with suspicion. "Human," the voice echoed in his mind through the translator interface.
"You have claimed what belongs to none. Relinquish it, and you may live."
"Refuse, and consequences will be swift!" Caden's gaze did not waver. He had faced death in the desert, fleets in uncharted space, and pirates with nothing but wits and courage. Now he faced the galaxy itself. He spoke clearly, letting his words carry the weight of his resolve. The Ark is not for conquest. It is for stewardship. I will protect it, and I will use it wisely. Threats will not sway me, and fear will not guide me. The alien leader hesitated. Caden could sense the tension. Powerful civilizations rarely encountered defiance so calm, so unflinching. His human confidence, born of survival and instinct, was an unexpected variable. The leader did not understand it, and that uncertainty was Caden's edge. More fleets arrived, surrounding the conflux like predators closing in on a single target. Caden felt the Ark respond beneath him, alive and alert. Energy pulsed through the hull, shields flaring, and the cloaking systems flexing like muscles. Every alien fleet assumed he would panic, that humans were weak. They were about to discover that humans were something else entirely. The first challenge was subtle. The fleets attempted to manipulate him with lies, offering alliances and promises of power if he surrendered control of the Ark. Caden listened carefully, analyzing each offer. Alien civilizations relied on coercion, on intimidation, and on greed. Humans, however, thrived on choice, on ethics, and on insight. He declined politely, yet firmly, explaining that the Ark could not belong to any single empire. Words, careful and deliberate, carried weight. Words that were human, unpredictable, and principled. The first attack came from a coalition warship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons and energy disruptors. It fired on the Ark, expecting to overwhelm him with sheer firepower. Hayden acted instantly. Using the Ark's systems, he created multiple energy projections, each simulating a different approach vector. The enemy's targeting systems locked onto decoys, wasting their firepower. Caden maneuvered the Ark along invisible gravitational currents, weaving through the attacks with precision. Lyra's guidance was crucial. They think in patterns. You do not. Use your mind, your instincts. Humans excel in unpredictability. Caden responded with ingenuity. He directed the Ark's energy into a massive pulse that temporarily disabled the attacking warship's systems without causing permanent damage. The alien fleet was stunned. Their expectation of destruction was met with strategy, not chaos. Humans survived not by sheer force, but by intelligence and adaptability. Caden had shown them that in full. The standoff intensified. More fleets moved into position, surrounding the conflux in waves. Caden realized that brute force would eventually overwhelm him. But he also realized that he had another tool: human diplomacy, paired with tangible demonstration of power. He opened communications to all fleets simultaneously, broadcasting a simple yet profound message. The Ark will not be used to dominate, but it will protect life. Any attack will be met with measured response. The galaxy's future is not in conquest, but in cooperation and understanding. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, a ripple of whispers traveled through the fleets. Alien leaders had never seen a human act this way, not with arrogance, not with fear, but with confidence and clarity. Humans, they realized, were unpredictable in ways they could not calculate. The final test came when a massive fleet, the largest Caden had yet seen, entered the conflux's perimeter. It was a show of strength meant to intimidate, but Caden saw opportunity. He activated the Ark's systems fully, revealing hidden capabilities. Localized gravity manipulation, shields encompassing the entire station, and energy projection systems capable of disabling multiple warships simultaneously. Instead, he demonstrated restraint, disabling the fleet's weapon systems temporarily to prevent unnecessary destruction. The message was clear. He had power, but he chose mercy. Humans survived because they acted with thought, courage, and foresight, not only with aggression. The alien commanders, now wary and uncertain, held back.
Caden approached them through communications again. The Ark belongs to those who act with responsibility and courage.
It will not be a tool of fear, but it will protect those who cannot protect themselves. If you wish to claim it, act with wisdom, not violence. Humans have survived because we choose clarity over chaos. Will you? A council of leaders deliberated, unseen by him. Caden waited, feeling the weight of the galaxy upon him. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time seemed irrelevant. Finally, the message came. We yield. You have shown judgment. We did not anticipate. The Ark remains with you.
We will observe, but not interfere. Humanity has earned its place.
Caden exhaled, relief mingling with awe. He had survived not only the desert and the alien fleets, but the judgment of entire civilizations. Humanity, underestimated and dismissed, had proven its worth. The Ark was now not merely a ship. It was a symbol, a testament to what humans could achieve when courage and morality guided action. Lyra approached him, her eyes glowing faintly. You have acted as humans were always capable of. Others sought domination. You chose understanding, foresight, and mercy. That is why the Ark responds to you. That is why it is yours. Caden nodded, feeling the full weight and wonder of what he had achieved. From a dying planet to the helm of the galaxy's most powerful ship, every step had been a test of courage, insight, and humanity. He had survived deserts, pirates, and alien fleets. Now he stood as a figure that would inspire stories across countless worlds. The galaxy would watch him, but he was not afraid. He had learned that power alone was meaningless, without choice, without insight, and without heart. The Ark would allow him to explore, to protect, and to guide civilizations, but he would act as a human first, a steward second. His decisions would shape the future, not through fear, but through example. As the fleet slowly withdrew, returning to their territories, Caden allowed himself a moment of quiet. He looked out at the stars stretching endlessly before him, imagining the countless worlds waiting to be explored, understood, and, when necessary, protected. The Ark pulsed beneath him, alive and responsive, ready for the journeys ahead. Lyra's thoughts entered his mind softly. The galaxy has tested you. You have proven that humans are more than survival, more than weakness, more than expectation.
You are worthy, and the Ark will follow your guidance.
Caden smiled. He remembered the deserts of Kalara, 9, the last drop of water he had given, and the fragile life that had led him here. One small act, an act of compassion, had changed everything. Humanity, underestimated and dismissed, had carved its place among the stars. And he, Caden, would ensure that it did not merely survive, but thrived. He turned back to the controls, feeling the hum of the Ark beneath his hands. A new chapter was beginning, one filled with exploration, challenge, and discovery. The galaxy watched, but for the first time, it would see humans as more than a footnote. Humans could act with courage, ingenuity, and heart. Humans could shape destiny, and Caden would lead the way.